Well, welcome. We're right in the height of the silly season. I think Kevin Rudden's been the only one that actually looked it up and found out that's a compliment and not a slur against the politicians. But this year especially, we have a critical question to ask, and that's who's going to represent us in Boston. We were very fortunate that as Lou Bertinazi stepped down, as Sal Cimino, many of the people, Marie Parenti, we had John Fernandez, and he's done an incredible job making sure that Milford stayed, as it should, at the center of attention, being the center of the universe. But today, when we ask the question, who will be our next representative, we have somebody who'd like to answer it with her name. So we'll start with an introduction.
Thank you, Al, for inviting me. My name is Sandra Slattery Biagetti, and I presently reside in Hopedale. And as you know, I'm running for state representative in the 10th Worcester District. And I was born and raised in Milford. I was educated in Milford schools. And as back then, I actually, right out of high school, I had to go to work to help, to help with expenses and stuff in the family. And at times I've worked 2 and 3 jobs at a time as 18, and I was 18 at the time as well. So that's pretty much unheard of in this time. Also, when I was very, very young, we were fortunate enough to have in place veterans housing.
Well, you were a Louis Ave girl.
I was a Louis Ave girl, and I loved every minute of it. It was a wonderful, wonderful childhood. But if I look back now, one of the positions I stand on is a welfare reform. And it's not to cut any type of benefits for anyone, it's to close loopholes that are costing the state many, many, many dollars. And it's painting people who truly need these benefits with the brush of the ones who are taking from it unlawfully. And I realize the effects of being able to utilize the benefits offered. And I think about it more often the older I get, how wonderful a system it was for us to be able to have that and a place to live. And so many families were living up Louis Ave at the time, and it was just like a wonderful little community. And I only have wonderful memories about that.
I remember we had a bit of a rivalry coming from the Heights. So we were
Yes,
always
we did.
against Louis Ave, except when we went over Water Street. Because, obviously I grew up with your sister.
Exactly, yes.
So we knew the same kids. But, go back to Louis Ave. But when we went to the Hopedale Band concerts, you turned your hat. And now the Louis Ave guys were Milford kids. Mm-hmm. So the Heights and Louis Ave always came together on Wednesday nights.
Exactly. You're right.
It's funny because this diversity thing that everybody talks about, we were too busy living it to understand. Mm-hmm. It's like cousins. You fight when you're at home, but if somebody picked on a Louis Ave kid while we were in Hopedale, well, he's one of us. So it was kind of a melting pot that put us Heights, Louis Ave, even Plains.
Exactly. Absolutely. I remember those were some of the best times of my life. And we'd leave at 7 o'clock in the morning and not come home till your name was yelled out the door to come for dinner. And heaven help you if you didn't show up for dinner.
Well, that was even if somebody else's mother was yelling. You better listen, because there was nothing about, you mess with somebody else's mother, you might as well be disrespecting your own. It was a very old-fashioned neighborhood.
But it was, I wish the kids of today could experience something like that. It was wholesome. Yeah. And that's actually part of, I want to protect the communities around, and just make sure that they're well taken care of. People need to know that me, as a rep, and any of my clients would tell you this, that you can definitely count on me. I'll take care of you. I will. You'll feel very comfortable. They need to feel comfortable with the person that's representing them. They need to feel comfortable calling them for the smallest thing. Maybe a utility bill and you're having problems with the utility company. Could you make a phone call on my behalf? I do that now, and I help people with their taxes. I help people with problems, with registry problems and stuff. So I was born to do this. I was absolutely born. It's just at a different level. And I'm just so excited to get in there and really start working.
So if we start off with the same question I've asked everybody running for office that's come on the show. I'm from Milford. Why should I vote for you?
Well, not only, I know you'll be asking questions based on your being from Milford, but also I want everybody listening to know that, or watching this, to know that I'm also going to be representing Medway, Mendon, and Hopedale, along with Milford, and that my answers will be for them as well. But exactly what I said to you, I was born and raised in Milford. I presently live in Hopedale. I've worked in the Milford area, right in Milford for 30 years at a local business. I have clients that span out into Boston, but I do have several clients in Medway. I have family that live in Mendon, and I live in Hopedale, and I still have family and I own property in Milford as well. I love the community, and I just feel like I have to wrap my arms around it and protect it. And what a better way than to be able to represent this district and the State House.
So now, as you look towards the State House, people are going to want to know, what are you building on? If somebody wants to say, what have you done for your community?
Well, I've been selectman in my community, and I was on the Board of Education, or the school committee, as a lot of people know. I still presently serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I serve on the opioid task force with the police, fire, in Atria Place. Bev Carver has developed this and brought it to fruition, and it's just a wonderful program. As far as Hopedale goes, what I've done for Hopedale, that was a struggle.
How so?
We have, because most of the
Too much
income
money
or
and
tax,
not enough to spend it on?
I knew you'd get that one in. I knew you'd get that one in. Now, no, a lot of our income or tax base is from residents. So we have to be very, very careful in how we spend that money. And as with any town or any city, you have to be very respectful of how you spend the money. We have very little commercial base in Hopedale, so our budget's not very big, and the school takes a little over half of the budget.
They take 62% of ours.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much the same. But therein lies another problem. Mandates imposed by the government, which are not funded.
Unfunded mandates are so much fun.
Exactly. And when you tell somebody what to do, but we're not going to give you the money to pay for it. I mean, it's really tough for us. And to renovate a building or to build a new building, it costs just as much in Hopedale as it does in any other town. They don't give you a discount because your budget's not high enough. We've had to do things. We got involved with the community, with Bellingham and the community block. We've got funds to help people who need help with heating systems or roof, and that was a wonderful thing, because especially when you see it's done and it's completed, and the people are so grateful and very, very thankful for what we've done. I've been a big supporter of our police department and our fire department, and what I've done with the fire department, as soon as I got in, within a few months, I wouldn't say right out of the gate, but I was instrumental in getting them certified for ALS. We worked for that,
Wow.
and that's an advanced life support system. And now we provide service to communities when they need help, and it's actually self-funding.
Self-funding?
It's self-funding, yes, yes.
See, that concept has always eluded me
Isn't
because
it
everything we
wonderful?
start that's going to be self-funding,
Well, I didn't believe it.
right?
I didn't believe it. So, but what's coming in now is taking care of the expenses for it. It's
Where does it come in
wonderful. When they bill the clients, they take
Oh,
on
they
the
bill the
ambulance.
insurance?
Yep. In the insurance billings and Medicare, Medicaid, and stuff, and it's
And it's
just-
actually turning a...
it's wonderful. I wouldn't say turning a profit,
No, but
but it's not costing the taxpayers the money that.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
if
wonderful.
it's turning over
It's
enough
just
revenue
wonderful.
that it's not revenue negative, it's hard to explain to people that's actually a positive.
It's wonderful. It's just wonderful,
'Cause-
and it's a great service to provide to your community. Even on the outskirts of it, with Mendon and Milford and stuff, if they need, assistance as well. The men on that team are
See,
extraordinary.
that's always been something, and I brought it up with the fire department, where we have every year we shut down our little cul-de-sac and the neighbors get together and we barbecue and we do things. Well, one of the children fell off a wall, and well, you don't know, he's bleeding, you get nervous, you call 911. There was something comforting to see a face, Scotty Marshall coming off
Right.
engine one.
Scotty Marshall.
And his daughter played soccer.
Right.
I know that every firefighter probably has the same level of commitment, but when you see a Teddy DiPaolo, a Frank, you see faces that you grew up with,
Exactly.
the tension
Right.
level goes way down because
I know them.
they've always taken
I know
care of my
them.
kids.
Right.
So I know them. But then it kills me when I'm saying, okay, they're doing 90% of the work. Then an ambulance shows up, takes the patient to the hospital, and the ambulance gets all the money. I never understood why that's a good deal for the town.
It's not.
But you seem to have changed
It's
it.
not only that. The ALS, they can provide care immediately. You need your IV. You need certain drugs if you're possibly having a heart attack, or if you're having a stroke. If you can, there's immediate, instant care as soon as that truck shows up.
So how did you convince the town to take a model and turn it on its head, where instead of just farming out and paying somebody?
I didn't convince anybody of anything. I was convinced even before I did this that I was an EMT
Oh,
back in 1980. So I realized the absolute importance of having quick response and the responders being able to administer care. Before this, if you have just a basic life support, before that, they have to, they do what they're allowed to do legally, and they have to wait for the absolute care to come in to be able to
so
take
if you
care
don't
of that
have,
patient.
most of the firefighters, I think, are EMTs, because otherwise, what can they do? Put Band-Aids
well,
on?
we're talking paramedic.
But I'm
level.
saying that's a
Yeah.
base now.
Right.
Is at least they're EMTs.
They can do.
You're talking
yes.
one step major
yes.
up.
Yes. And now they can administer instant care. And there wasn't any resistance in doing this.
Really?
Yes. And Chief Day was wonderful, Rich Gleason, all the men that were involved in bringing this to fruition. Oh, my goodness. I'm just so proud of the whole bunch of them. I'm
it's
so
funny.
proud of them.
I never really got into it, the questions with Chief Tui Rev 1. Now we have Chief Tui Rev 2. I'll have to ask Bill, because it sounds like a winning idea.
It is. It's one. There's a huge responsibility that goes with it. I know now. I know that Milford uses community ambulance, I think, for their response. Fine organization, really, it is, and they're qualified as paramedics and stuff. But this was one of my, one person can't do great things. It takes a whole group. And this is exactly what it was.
So now you're a selectman for Hopedale. You got family still, and ties to Luby Ave in Milford. You own
Right.
property in Milford. And you got Slattery family out in Mendon. It doesn't feel like you're already representing all three?
Of course. They call me the politician in the family anyway. But, it's just that I really, my feet are really on the ground in this community, and I just want the best representation for them, and may the best woman win, that's the
What
way
was the biggest challenge you took on when you were selectman? Can we say that, or is it select person, or?
You can say anything you want to me. I'm very comfortable with whatever you call me. I don't know if you'd call it a challenge. It's when my select woman, Janet, can we move on to something else right now?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, when you hit the budget in Hopedale, many a time on the soccer field, Mother Hampshire on the school committee was always there, and she seemed to have a different view on budget discussions than we've had. How did you approach the budget? Because like you say, you don't have a ton of industry. And I mean, 2 corner stores, and I mean, what used to be, God bless you if you can get Draper back. I mean, I grew up going into that building with my mother, but...
That's a sensitive issue.
But the fact is today, in the last decade or so, Hopedale hasn't been blessed like Milford has with a large base and a dual tax rate. How did you approach making ends meet?
Well, I have to give a blessing to our finance committee. Was amazing. Every department, it's police, fire, water, sewer, all our departments, when you, and the school, and I was on the school committee, all of them, when you ask them to get together and really see what you can do to make these numbers work, this is what we feel would work for you. See what you can do for that. Everyone came together and was just incredible. It was incredible. And I was so proud of everyone because I know it's a struggle and I know they need things. I mean, police chief needs vehicles get beaten up. They get beaten up. And and now the vehicles they used to use, the Crown Vics and stuff like that, they're no longer available. So you have to downsize all the interior equipment, has to be able to fit into the old one, and it doesn't.
Yeah, we seem to be going to the little SUVs because they said they can't fit everything into the sedans.
They can't. So, I mean, he has a struggle with that, and people don't understand. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that you don't realize. And our fire department is tries to get, would like a new truck here, and they have something that's like archaic, but all the guys love that truck. It's beautiful.
I get in trouble when I refer to TUI toys. Because we have a new TUI toy this year, $1.1 million ladder truck.
I'll have to. When I see him.
TUI Rev 2 does not like being referred to as buying a TUI toy.
When I see him, I was just talking to Chief One just a few days ago. So
we've been very fortunate. I mean, when we look at
oh my goodness, we have
Tom, our police chief, John, Bill, they come in, and as they come in front of the FinCom, when they tell you, I need this. I mean, this year, we had scheduled to update the phone system at the fire department. Bill came in and says, I really don't need it this year. I can wait till next year. It's like, okay, what more can I ask from a department head than he's coming in telling us right now, I really don't need it. I can wait a year.
Don't you love that?
What more can you want?
Exactly.
Now, when he comes in next year and says, the breathing apparatus needs replaced, what am I going to say? No? I mean, he's built up so much credibility, that whole department has that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've experienced the same thing in Hopedale.
We always tell our fire chief he's missing out because police chief Tom comes in his uniform and all, but when it's budget, he always has his gun. It's just, we found the trend over the last so many years. When it's a budget night, he's got his gun. We said, Chief, maybe bring in an axe or some prop that...
A machete. I know.
So now, you obviously, because of family and where you grew up, you've had a taste of all I don't know about Medway, but at least 3 of the towns. What do you see the big difference between, here in Milford, I always say there's 28,000 of us that know Milford's the center of the universe. There's 6 billion need to be educated. But, realistically, Water Street started in Milford. You go over the hill, you're in Hopedale.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference in your mind between Milford, Hopedale, Mendon?
Money. No, I'm just.
That's legit.
A bigger budget. No, Mendon and Hopedale remind me of when I was younger in Milford, the smaller community. But Medway, I do know, and I have relatives and had relatives, and I have very good friends in Medway, so I'm pretty familiar.
Those dang Lubiab families spread out everywhere, don't they? They're almost as bad as the families from the Heights.
Well, in the business I'm in, it just brings me everywhere. And I made such wonderful, wonderful friends and close relationships, and they just have learned to trust me. They just trust me, and every one of them are behind me.
Okay, we give the bag to Sandy, send her off to the big city.
Exactly.
What are the areas that you think you'd want to address first?
Well, as I've been talking about, it's the unlawful immigration. And
We have illegal immigrants?
no, we have unlawful immigrants.
Oh, okay.
Unlawful.
I'm an old guy from the Heights. What's the difference between unlawful and illegal?
Well, it's the same thing. It's just a softer way
Okay.
of putting it.
So we have the unlawful or the non-lawful immigrants.
Mm-hmm. And the expense that it's creating. And it's creating a huge expense within our school system with translation costs and the language barrier, and having to provide, I think all the teachers now have to be, is it ELA certified? They're being required to do this. And the cost now, this is not an exact number, but for Massachusetts alone, the expense of this illegal, unlawful immigration has cost Massachusetts about, I think it's $1.09 billion. $1.01 billion of that is in education expenses. And the rest is in general government services, legal, and other social services. Okay, so this has created quite a dent in the state budget, where these funds could very easily go towards the schools. Always could use more local aid. And our court system, unfortunately, we are providing attorney fees, we're providing translation, and this is every day. I think they had tried at one point to make it a day, a week, or 2 days, just to cut down on the translation alone, having someone come in or having the attorneys come in. But I guess someone mentioned that everybody has the right to speedy, not trial, but to be
Processed.
to be heard.
Right.
And so now it's every day.
But now, one of the issues I always have when we talk about
This.
unlawful illegal immigration is I sit there and say, on a local level, people always talk about we need to do something. And I laugh because I say, last time I looked, although 28,000 of us know Milford's the center of the universe, what can you deport them to Rhode Island? We really don't have the right. Well, let's say Bellingham is not in the 10th. We'll deport them all to Bellingham.
No, you just don't make it so attractive for people to come here.
Okay, help me
Okay.
understand. What does that mean?
Well, now, attractive is EBT benefits and being able to carry an EBT card, and they can. If you have children here, you can be, even though you're unlawful, you can be their guardian, and the children's the EBT can be in the children's name. And the problem with...
If the children are American?
Yes, if the children are born here.
So if I come here, I'm pregnant, I have a child.
You get services, yes.
Because my child is an American citizen.
Yes.
Okay. I was trying to understand how...
And pretty much people have been conditioned and shamed into not being able to talk about this for fear of being discriminated.
Being called a bigot.
Discrimination, a bigot, prejudiced, racist. Most of the conversations I have with people, when I explain to them the door, they start the conversation out by saying, please don't think I'm discriminating, but against these people.
Oh.
But, and then they go on to say how they truly feel about it. But we've been shamed into silence to not talk about it for that very reason.
But Sandy, what can we do? Last year, we got, last year or year before, it melds together, we got 50 kids sent to us from Texas by the federal government. And at our town meeting, we had somebody get up and say, you're putting an extra $300,000 in the budget to take care of the English as a second language program.
That's right.
Or English language learning, whatever it is.
There's a whole bunch of initials for it.
Don't do it and you'll make it less attractive. And I had to get up and say, excuse me. First of all, the budget starts with special needs. There are rules, you fund the special needs to the rules. End of story. Then the ELL, you fund it. So my point was, if you take $300,000 out of the budget, you're not going to go after those kids. You're taking it out of whatever you politically correct word for the typical.
Right. That's right.
You're taking it right out of the kids who born in Milford, raised in Milford. So when you look at the second level, they're not really illegal. They were illegal till they hit Texas and the federal government said, we're moving you to Milford. What can we do?
Well, what can we do? Really, we do need to get together on that. But until the federal government gets the message,
right,
and this is something we can't afford anymore. People need to be able to talk about this and understand the cost. People are going to have to start getting, I don't want to say angry because I don't like to use words like that, but they're going to have to know the facts. And the facts, especially with EBT cards. Now I know they voted to put pictures on the cards and stuff. That's a wasted expense on cards. It's expensive to print those with pictures on them because, did you know your cashiers and clerks are not allowed to ask to see the card to see if the person using it is the one.
Well, no, that's silly. Because I have to tell you, I supported the idea of saying,
it's in my paperwork.
I believe
because
you.
if the store that these clerks work for do not card everyone coming through that register, then they're going to be held and they'll be reported by the person carrying the EBT card that they're not going to show you the picture for. And did you know $87 million worth of cash benefits off of the EBT cards were used in Florida and California while traveling?
See, again, to me that's silly. I sit there and say, wait a minute.
No, it's maddening. It's not silly, it's maddening.
It's Massachusetts money meant to help people in Massachusetts. There are electronic ways. My regular credit card. If I go, just recently, we went on a trip and we were driving through Pennsylvania.
That's right.
And I got called by Citibank to verify. It was fraud verification. They saw that we had stayed in hotels and I had to explain who I was and prove who I am. Well, okay, and that's my credit card.
Yep.
So
that's right.
What's the logic behind, is it discrimination then to ask somebody? It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, when the cards run through, it shows on the screen to a cashier that it's an EBT card. No one else knows what kind of card it is. But I'm sorry, people apply to qualify for EBT benefits, okay? And two, the thing is it should always be verified that the person using that card is the one.
And I guess I'm too naive. I don't understand. If it's my card, right, and you ask me, could I see the card? My Citibank has my picture on it.
That the person,
there you go. I don't care. It's my card. Now, if I'm using somebody else's card, then I could not want to show you, right?
But the thing is they don't offer. The cashier or clerk cannot ask to see the card. They can't ask.
So what would you propose we do?
Eliminate cash benefits.
Eliminate?
It won't be, those cards won't be attractive anymore. To eliminate the cash benefits on the card, because they can get cash off those cards too.
Oh, they can?
Oh, yeah.
I thought you only bought groceries with the cards.
No.
Oh, so again, I didn't
You
understand.
can get cash off the cards.
So you say no cash.
That would make that particular part of the system, by no means would it fix it.
Right, but at least you
Okay.
nibble.
But at least the cash doesn't go out. That 87 million that I just told you about was cash benefits that were used in Florida and California. So what are you doing if you're supposed to be in Massachusetts and you really don't have anything?
Well, I'm giving
and
you
this is
this
why you're
money
qualified.
because I want you to get the basic food,
Of course,
medicine.
of course.
So why are you in a different state?
$87 million. Why is $87 million being spent in 2 different states?
I mean, that's a good question, because I'd like to know why they're
course you
not
would.
increasing my
you
Chapter
would.
70 money, because you don't have any for the schools,
Well-
and yet here's 87 million you could apply to it.
That's right.
Okay. You mentioned
Not
one.
to mention the 1.01 billion that I was telling you, that because of this whole thing, that is, if we didn't have to spend that, which is, it's probably going to be impossible right now, but even if we cut that in half,
It's $500 million. Oh my God.
would that make the schools breathe a little easier?
Well, you know better than I. So now you mentioned you believe in welfare reform.
I do, and that
What would
ties
you
into that.
reform? I mean,
That-
obviously the
That
EBT
tie-
card would tie.
Absolutely, absolutely. It has nothing to do with cutting any benefits. That has nothing
Well,
to do.
you know, personally, and I'll go out on a limb, it really upsets me. We've been involved in Special Olympics, and kids who really need help. They didn't do anything. This
Right.
wasn't somebody who you could say took drugs, was weird, did
right.
strange things that affected their health. These kids were born needing extra help. And yet, when I see what we give them as they turn adults, it's embarrassing.
Well, that's a lot of what I've encountered as I was going door to door, is mental health issues.
Yeah.
And
And
there
we
are,
keep getting told, excuse me, we can't give them more because so many people are abusing welfare. That annoys me. I want to give the people who really deserve it more.
yeah, you're not being told that, but it's just the money's going in a different place, and no one wants you. Personally,
Same.
I don't think anybody wants you to know the details of this.
Right.
And so that's why you're discouraged about talking about it. Just don't do it.
So
don't
what would
talk about it.
You're showing up, Sandy with the bag on the hill. If somebody said, how would you reform mass welfare? What would you want to start with?
I'll tell you, when I first get there, to me, and I noted that you had said something about things being a challenge. I'm going to tell you something. I wake up every day not thinking anything's going to challenge me. I just figure, well, I'll go right through it. That's all. And I'll do the same thing there. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sit back and I'm going to listen and I'm going to observe how the process goes. I am going to really listen to the senior representatives of the state, because they have the experience and they'll have the knowledge. And then what I tend to do, which may seem a little excessive, well, I intend to do, is there were 160 reps. I am going to introduce myself to the other 159. I'm going to do some research on them and see what their positions are and how they voted and stuff like that. There's always, regardless of what party you are, there's always, when you meet someone, there's always a common thread somewhere if you just look for it. And to be able to communicate with people and actually sit down, I may encounter some resistance, and I realize that. But in my 30 years of doing what I do, I encounter resistance every day. Some of my more difficult people have become my best friends. So it's just that you find that common thread and you work with it. And when people see that you're actually honest and you're concerned and you want to work with them and not against them, then I think, it does work. It's just that I don't know that it's really, people have tried hard enough before to do that.
But you're going to have to try harder. I mean, we think about what's going on in Washington. Mm-hmm. Blue and red don't seem to want to mix and make purple.
Yeah, see, I don't look at things that way.
Well, how could you? I mean, I remember going into the State House and seeing a huge list in alphabetical order, then this little tiny list. Mm-hmm. And I said to John Fernandez when he was walking, I said, who are those people? Are they the ones you don't like? He goes, no, those are the Republicans. I said, that's it? There's only that many of them? He goes, well, yeah, this is Massachusetts. So as a Republican, you're already in the minority.
I don't look at it that way. I'll be a state representative. I'm not looking like over here and they're over there. I don't look at it that way.
That's wonderful. I wish Washington would.
I'm a state representative, and I'm working with these people. And see, we should all have a common thread that we're in there because we are working for our local community. We're working for our district. It shouldn't be that, well, okay, that's a Democrat over there, so I'm really not going to talk to him. I'm going to fight him as much as I can all day long. I don't fight people. It's too exhausting for me.
It's also counterproductive.
Well, there's no purpose for it. There's no purpose for it. So my plan is to get along with everyone and to really work with everyone. And when I tell you, I'll research all 159, and I'll go in there, I'll make a point to introduce myself. And if I have to, if I can't meet them in the State House, I'll find out their addresses and give them a call and see if they'd be willing to sit down and have coffee with me. And I'll do that with all of them.
Now, we've been fortunate over the years that we've had our rep and our senators work together and bring home a lot of good benefits.
Yep.
Could you work with Ryan, Fat Man?
Oh, in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. He's a good guy. He really is. I could have worked with John Fernandez. Love John Fernandez. He's a good guy. And when he retired, I was a little, but, and then that was it. I would never have shown him any disrespect by running against him while he was there because I like him and I think he did a good job.
So now as we get back, we talk about the economic impact of illegals. Mm-hmm. We talk about the economic impact of not having enough industry.
Right.
What do you do to make it better?
Oh, you really work hard at this. But the economic impact as far as the illegal immigration goes, what they're doing is, and I'm not targeting any specific group of people, okay? It's just that when you're illegal and you have a business underground, so to speak, it takes away from our businesses here. It takes away from, I'm just going to say the roofing industry because I have to, because that's one of the most dominant ones. They can't compete with people who don't have to pay payroll taxes, who don't have to pay taxes, who don't have to have workers' compensation, insurance. They don't have those expenses that a legitimate business has. So the legitimate business can't compete with these.
But then how do you level the playing field? I mean, everybody talks about it's not fair. Well, wait a minute. if you're given the magic wand, what do you do?
If I had the power to, I would make sure that there would be, I call them the workers' comp police for one thing. I'd make sure that they were out there, which they do a great job at, stopping at every single job they see out there and verifying workers' comp certificates, for one thing. That's one thing you need to do. Then I think we also need to work with an insurance company or two who charge extra on a policy for people who are listed and don't have driver's licenses.
Are there that many people without driver's licenses?
Oh yeah, running these businesses, yes. Yes. They can get a policy from a company or two, which I obviously won't name here. And what they do is they'll say, okay, but we can't verify that you have a license. And of course, everybody knows that they don't have a license. And but we'll charge you a surcharge of 7 points. So it almost doubles the premium. And of course, the person who is driving this vehicle is more than willing to pay a premium price because they can get insurance from someone. This is one of the loopholes we need to close because it's too easy for them to actually get insurance.
You know, it's amazing. When I had a plant out in San Diego, we were very close to the national border. And they got my attention real fast by saying, okay, you're running this place. Under personal penalty, you will sign that you're doing everything you can to ensure that everybody is legal. And well, you know, it really hit me saying, if they're going to come after me, I want to make sure everybody working for me is
You bet.
Or at least
You bet.
I'm going to take every step I can.
That's right.
So that you can't come back and say, wink, wink, you knew. No, if I knew, I'd fix it because I don't want to go to jail.
You're absolutely right.
So why don't we go after the people who...
Let me give you a little bit of news that's going to probably make you lose some sleep as well. There are people out there who collect welfare benefits or benefits that insure vehicles for illegal people and
So
get the insurance.
They're doing this intentionally.
Intentionally. Intentionally for profit.
To make money.
Yeah, because then the illegal people will pay them money to use the vehicle that they bought. See, you know something? People here who are here illegally sometimes are abused by their own kind.
Sure.
You know? And that's not fair either. You know, but it's more on a financial level. But
if we wanted to stop that, that doesn't seem like an impossible task.
Oh, it's not. It's not. If I had the power to report, I would.
Well, that's my point.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I mean, in what I do now.
Right. But I mean,
if I had that power. But there are ways to let people know this happens. But this is my point. We have to stop making this so attractive for people. For the ones here, we need to start something does need to be done. But the thing is we have to be able to talk about it too, without feeling uncomfortable or we're going to be attacked personally, because that's exactly what's happening.
No, I understand, because I was once asked, well, are you against immigrants to this country? And I started laughing. And the woman said, why are you laughing? I said, Alberto Abrantes Correa. I was not a Native American. Let me give you a hint. My grandfather came over. You know, I was a first generation born here. I'm not against immigration. I believe as a country, we have benefited so much from, You know, look at Milford, the Italians, the Irish, the Portuguese, the Brazilian, all of them, now the Ecuadorians, the Guatemalans, all of those cultures brought something new to the
That's right.
town.
That's right.
But the people who did it legally,
Paid
I will
daily.
stand up. And I'll never forget that somebody helped my grandfather, who came to Milford with $32.80 in his pocket, worked his bum off, so that we could be a family in Milford. But the illegal thing, still, I don't.
It's not right. Did you know, I mean, even, you know, do you know if you're earning money as an illegal, you can get a tax number and pay taxes on the money that you make? But nobody does it. They know this. And if you go, you have your medical insurance, you go to the hospital, pay $25 to show that you're interested, you know, and while you partake of all the benefits, that you'll contribute to the cost. So the groups should be telling them this. Show that you truly, truly, truly want to be here and you want to contribute to it as well as take the benefits from it.
Sure.
And that's, you know, if you showed me receipts like, oh, I pay all my medical bills by myself, I don't expect you to pay them, or, you know, look, I got a tax number because I can, and, you know, and I pay into the system, I might feel a little better about you being here.
Well, you know, it's like, if I invited you, Sandy, into my home and you start breaking my furniture, I should have the right to tell you, get out of my house.
That's right.
So anybody, whether they're here legally or illegally as an immigrant, if they start breaking our laws, you know, you got drug dealers, it's a small percentage, but to me, I have no sympathy on they have rights. They have the right to go home.
It's not as small of a percentage as you think it is.
Oh.
The thing is that you can be deported if you commit a felony. But you could commit misdemeanor after misdemeanor after misdemeanor. When you have the disrespect in this country and you just keep committing.
So I can get deported if I rip apart your living room furniture, but if I just break a chair and then another chair, you can't throw me out of the house?
That sounds too mild.
I was going to say,
I mean,
but
driving without a license continually is like thumbing your nose up.
Well, that's the same thing. You're breaking a chair.
Right.
I mean, we've had the situation where somebody without a license.
Over and over and over again.
Yeah, really did. Quick question. You want to have any comment on what's going on in Washington? On this new election?
Challenging, isn't it? And I don't like to use that word. I'm really looking forward to the debates for a little bit more clarity. And for a whole lot more clarity, actually, to be honest with you. But I'm not leaning towards Hillary Clinton. It's not because of what she says, it's what she's not saying.
A year ago, I was here in this room and I said, the biggest worry I have is that November next year, I'll walk into the booth and I'll have a choice between somebody who's acting like a buffoon and somebody who's a liar. And it's scary because,
It is.
I mean, I joked and I said, you know, Hillary, Milhouse, Clinton, right? Because, you know, for those old enough, I would, to this day, I believe, Richard Milhouse himself, if Nixon had gotten up, said, I screwed up. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I think he would have finished his presidency.
Well, I'll tell you, I believe that because regardless of the content, if someone tells you the truth, it might anger you, but not as much as if you found out they were lying to you.
And Americans don't kick people when they're down.
That's right.
When you put your hands out and say,
be honest.
Yes, I blew it. I'm truly sorry.
Be honest. You're right.
But I keep having this problem that one thing that the Donald said is he said Hillary and all the Clintons' life is chronicled with one scandal after another, And what bothers me the most is they really do seem like they feel they're above the law.
Oh,
I mean,
well,
wasn't that why we founded this country? We didn't think there were kings above common law?
you know, that's a good point, but I'll always, and I'll never let it go, is the vision of our president and Hillary standing there saying it was a video. Now, my brother has been in the service for 30 plus years. He's been deployed twice. He's been on active duty. And he's come very, very close a lot of times. And it's a sickening, sickening feeling. I mean, nowadays it's a little different because you can see each other on, you know, computer and stuff. But it's a very sickening feeling. And for that family to realize that no help was given, and then they lied about it. Yeah. You know, they could have said, oh, mistaken communication or something like that, but to lie and say it was a video, I will never, ever forgive her for that.
But it's even the small things. I have pneumonia. I'm sick. I'm human. What are you going to say to somebody? You shouldn't have caught pneumonia? Shame on you?
Right.
Just get up and say, I mean, it wasn't yesterday
I know.
when her husband, Bill Clinton, said, lots of people get the flu. It's like, no, we already know. You can stop lying. You know, but on the other hand, when I listen to what Donald Trump says he can do, I don't believe that it's possible to do. You know, our chief of police said, if you close the borders, hermetically seal the country, it would take you 84 years to deport every illegal alien, if you ever could.
Probably.
So to say I'm going to deport them all, not in my lifetime. So I wonder how much is bravado and how much does he really believe?
I think he's just stating a dream. You know, and like I said, with the $1 billion spent on this, even if half came true, it's still more, you know, it's still more than you originally would have had in the first place. But as far as, I don't know, I mean, like you say, buffoon and stuff, but at least you never have to know what he's thinking.
No, at least he's honest. And I do believe that Congress would never let him, when he acts like a buffoon, and I mean, lately he seems to have been settling down.
Yeah, have you noticed that?
Yeah, all of a sudden it's like, okay, this is real. I got 8 weeks to go or 6 weeks to go. Let me stay on message and people respond. But I also believe that he could make up things like, I'm going to do this, and Congress would say, oh, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So
well, it's never what everybody has to realize that. He's not going to be able to push the button, for one thing.
Oh, God.
Without somebody holding him back. You know, I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. He's not going to push the button because he's, you know.
Yeah, he got annoyed and he's going to go nuke Iran or something. No.
No, that's not going to happen. You know, there's that button thing always made me laugh a little. But I don't know, as far as any gridlock in Washington and stuff, it's time to put your big boy and big girl pants on and, you know, start treating each other with some respect and realize why you're there in the first place.
Reagan and Tip O'Neill, diametrically opposed political views, but they respected each other. So after the cameras were gone, they could go have a drink and talk.
The thing is, that's the key. You need to be able to respect each other, and you need to remember why you're there. You know, this is what they don't remember, where they came from and the reason they're there. It's all an ego thing. Oh, by the way, I mean to tell you, I don't have an ego. You know, somebody else can take credit for all my ideas. I don't care. As long as it gets done. It needs to get done, you know, and this ego thing gets in the middle of everything, and it's, you know, your party, my party. Stop. Just stop. Because you'll never get anything done if this is going to be this, you know.
Sure.
You know, and I don't work that way. And anyone I work with will tell you, from the day I entered my business and up until this day, I have never said, that's not my job. I always find out whose job it is. If it's not my job, I'll find out whose job it is. And I'll work with them to get the results that we need to get. But I don't do it. I just don't do it. And I work very, very hard to make my business successful and to make the owner of my business, my job is to make him look good. And in the interim, I'm making myself look good. And it's just helping people.
Now we have a problem. We got a minute left.
Oh.
So, Sandy, I'm from Milford. Why should I vote for you?
Well, you're from Milford, and those from Medway, and those from Hopedale, and those from Mendon, as I've said earlier, is that I love this community. I was born and raised here, and I went to school here, and I just would hate to see it not, I'll put my arms around it and I'll protect it. It's like the mother rep. And that's what I'll be to everyone. I do. I just care about it enough to be able to. I'd love to bring it back to halfway what it used to be when we were kids, because it was it was lovely then.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for inviting me. This was very enjoyable.
Good. As always, I've always said I'll never ask any of our 6 loyal viewers to vote for a particular person, but I'll beg you to vote. Get to know the candidates. There'll be different debates, different articles. Find out who you think is more like you, who will support your vision of Milford, Hopedale, Mendon, part of Medway, but Medway.
Precinct 1.
Precinct 1. And then, more importantly, on Election Day, I'm begging you, get out and vote. And as always, thank you for coming on. And to our 6 loyal viewers, may God bless, and may tomorrow be a better day than tonight. Good night.